So, all right, let's dive right in. Please, at any time, stop me with questions, clarifications, anything like that. So, again, tonight's presentation is on illegal defense, which really is around, as I said, free space to goal, also known as shooting space, and our 3 seconds. So, if you are just joining us, please mute as you come in, please. There's a lot of background noise. So what really is illegal defense? So we have our shooting space, also known as free space to goal. So defenders who put themselves in or fail to remove themselves from the shooting lane while the attack has the opportunity to shoot safely. Really, that is our shooting space call. And then any defenders who are within the 8-meter arc that are not marking within a stick's length of an attacking player, we have our 3 seconds rule. So digging into 3 seconds, 3 seconds is a defensive foul. As I said, they are within the 8-meter arc. They are not marking an attack player within a stick's length, and the attacking team that has the ball has crossed over the restraining line into their attacking end. So this is a key point. A lot of people think that we have to be in settled offense when 3 seconds is in effect. It really is not the same as some of our other fouls. 3 seconds starts the minute the ball comes over that restraining line. So lots of opportunity here for 3 seconds calls to be occurring. So we'll get into some videos and clips to really show what it means, to be within a stick's length, to not be marking up appropriately. But if a defender starts to double or triple team a non-ball attack player, then that kind of last person in still becomes, is still within the 3 seconds, within the 3 seconds rule. So a lot of times what you'll see is in zone defenses, we have the players that come in, try to, mark somebody or pick up that extra player. The other defender does not leave. So then we still have that double team of a non-ball player. Now we have a potential for 3 seconds, and it's always the last person to arrive. So if I'm standing there and somebody else comes up, then it is that other person that comes up. I'm okay as long as I stay within that stick's length. One of the things that does clear you from 3 seconds, though, is if you are marking that opponent who's directly behind the goal. One of the keys here, and I think a lot of people get very confused, a lot of players get very confused in that it really is within the frame of the goal. And I'm sorry, I'm terrible drawing with my mouse, but we really are looking at the frame of the goal for our attacker and our defender. If the attacker comes out here and the defender stays there or even is right in here, now we are not within the frame of the goal. That defender could potentially be in 3 seconds if they do not fully get out. So we really are looking for that attacking player who is within that attacking player that's within the frame of the goal. So thinking of those imaginary lines that connect all the way back down. Any questions on 3 seconds before we get into some videos? All right. So a couple of just examples of when we do not have 3 seconds. Right here, we have attack and defense standing right next to each other. They are within a stick's length. This is good defense. Here, the defender is inside the 8-meter arc, but the attack is outside. As long as they remain within that stick's length, they're okay. One can be in, one can be out. Here, on this third example, defense is not inside the 8. So even though she's not within a stick's length of that attacker, She's not in the arc. There's no 3 seconds violation there. Here's what we were just talking about. Attack is directly behind the goal. We have a defender here. No 3 seconds violation in this situation. Here in scenario E, we have kind of a triple here, but also an attacker behind here. So while this may look like we are a double team on a non-ball carrying attacker, we have this attacker back here. And so one of the defenders is marking her. And then we have the other pair over here. Ball carrier is here. So we have no 3 seconds violation. And then in our last scenario, which we'll get to in a minute, just because this defender here is marking this attacker behind the goal does not mean she is not exempt from our shooting space. So defense can be exempt from 3 seconds, still need to pay attention to our shooting space violations, which again, we'll get to in a second. So in our first clip, we have the ball carrier coming in here by this red attacker. And we're going to have purple just kind of floating here. Number 2 never really gets out. Now we've got number 8. She's on the line, never really gets out. So number 8's floating, number 2's floating. We have this player here. This is the pair. She's double teaming. She's off, not within a stick's length, just kind of floating around in here. Number 8, purple, is in our 3 seconds violation. Nice and easy to catch when it's slowed down, but I will play it again at regular speed. So here, she's coming down the field in here. She comes in, sort of picks up this player here, but is never really within a stick's length. So kind of there, but 22 or 21, whoever this player is, kind of always stayed with her. Remember, it is a stick only. So stick on your, on your hip or attached to your body out to the attacker. It is not a stick plus an arm. So she's there. Just kind of floats, She's really in there for about 5 seconds. So in this one, we're going to have a couple different players in here. The ball carrier is coming in off the top here. We'll mute that. So this player's there. She's kind of in. She's kind of in. She's kind of in. She's floating. Number 5 doesn't quite get out. So again, we'll watch it. We've got a couple different players. So here's 5. She's probably the biggest offender. So she's now inside. She just crept inside the 8. So she sort of picks up this girl. This girl has not. This is now, her time has reset. You please mute as you come in. So now we're kind of all marked. 5 has gone out. She now comes back. Ooh, I'm sorry. So picked it up. 5 is now, oh my gosh, I hate PowerPoint. So 1 foot in is still in. So here, she's not really within a stick's length. 1 foot is in. She hasn't fully cleared the 8 meter. She's now definitely in. Does not ever get within a stick's length of this attacker. She floats. White picks it up here. She does not get fully out. So we have a couple opportunities for 3 seconds there. And then in our last clip, we've got the ball coming down here center. Hold on. Okay. So now we've just, you can see the blue just kind of floating. So this blue, she doesn't quite know where she wants to go. She's in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She's just kind of floating, doesn't know where to go. This is a great example of zone defense, where you see a lot of times the defenders are playing a zone. That means they all have their little areas, but they never quite get out. They never pick up a player. A lot of times they're just kind of lost as ball is transitioning in. Oftentimes defenders don't necessarily know that the 3 seconds violation or the 3 seconds, becomes in effect when the ball crosses the restraining line. They think that we have to be in settled offense in order for that 3 seconds call to come. So they try to get organized. They don't always get out. This is a great example of that, where she really is just kind of floating in here, doesn't really know what to do. She's directing her teammates, but she herself does not really ever get out. Any questions on our 3 seconds? All right. So 3 seconds tends to be a little bit easier. Shooting space, also known as free space to goal, is probably one of, if not the most difficult concept for both players and officials in our game. So the definition of our free space to goal is, 2 imaginary lines that start at the ball and go down, connecting to the outside of the goal. So I always like to think of it as an ice cream cone, where the tip of the cone is the ball and the big scoop of ice cream on top is the goal. And then that ice cream cone is going to float, as you see in the picture down here. It's going to float depending on where that ball is within the 8. So if defense is in this cone at any point within the 8 meter or the 12 meter within the critical scoring area, and they are not marking an attacker, that denies the attack the opportunity to shoot safely and should be called if the attack has the opportunity to shoot. And opportunity to shoot is always kind of a point of contention. So we'll kind of talk about that throughout the night today. But if we just kind of think about it as this imaginary cone, and another important thing is that it goes from the ball, not necessarily the attacker's body. It goes from the ball. So if I have my stick in my right hand, my lane is very different than if I have my stick in my left hand, or if I have my stick kind of right in front of me. It really can shift very quickly depending on where that is. So just remember, it goes from the ball and it goes to the edge of the goal circle, not the goal posts. So it's a nice wide lane there for our attackers to shoot. So if we have an attacker with the ball, she must be inside the critical scoring area. So remember, our critical scoring area is the entire 12-meter fan and 8-meter arc above the goal line extended. And she has to have the opportunity to shoot. So I can't be looking around wanting to pass to my teammate. I can't have a defender right in front of me, kind of defending me, marking my stick. We look for what the coaches like to say is hands free. So if my hands are free, my stick is free, I have the opportunity to shoot. We look for that body language that really kind of says, I'm turned towards goal, I'm going towards goal, I'm not going sideways across the 8. We really want them to be creating that opportunity to shoot. Our defense, go ahead, you have a question?
Yes, come here,
Yeah,
you guys do this. Look at this girl, she's wearing a baby.
No, okay, not a question. All right. So our defenders then, If they are going to be within the critical scoring area, they have to be within a stick's length and not obstructing free space to goal. So if I'm going to defend the ball carrier, I have to be right on top of her. I have to be within a stick's length. As long as I'm within a stick's length, I can be anywhere, around that stick, around the ball, but I have to be within a stick's length. I can't be 5 steps off and, trying to defend there. That would be obstructing the lane. If I am a defender who is marking an attacker who is going to cut through the 8 or cut through the lane, as long as I keep moving with my attacker, I'm being drawn through that lane. I am not in shooting space. If I stop, I turn, I start to move towards the ball, now I potentially am in shooting space. But as long as I keep going with my attacker, I'm drawn through that space. I could be 5 steps behind her. As long as I keep moving with my attacker, I am not in shooting space. If I am that defender who tries to turn and come towards the attacker with the ball, and I turn and I come up the lane with my stick in the lane and lead with my stick as I get closer, that is a good defensive position. And, as long as my body is staying out of that lane, that's great defensive position on my part. What we're really looking for is those defenders who are in the shooting space lane, the shooting space cone on their own initiation. That's what we're looking for in terms of a shooting space violation. Any questions before we get to some scenarios and some clips? I know sometimes it's hard to kind of think through these concepts without actually demonstrating it. I know for our Northern Ohio folks, we did a little on-field session and that tended to be a little bit better. But we'll make do with what we have. So as I talked about, our offense is really creating the opportunity to shoot when I'm establishing shooting mechanics towards the goal. So is my stick free? Is my body angled towards the goal, or are my shoulders to the sideline? I'm looking for a teammate. And where are my feet going? Are my feet going kind of towards goal, or are they going, parallel to the goal across? Just because I'm going in and running sideways does not necessarily mean that I'm not going to shoot. So I think a lot of our high school players are getting much more savvy with their shots and their shot selection, and that they could be running sideways and take a shot. But again, that's where I'm looking for that stick to be free. I'm looking for my shoulders to kind of turn towards goal. My feet may not necessarily be there, but my shoulders may be turning like I'm going to fire a shot towards the goal. We want to make sure that one of those 3 is, and preferably 2 of the 3 are really creating that opportunity for our attackers. If I, as an attacker, go below the goal line extended, if I turn my back to the goal or I turn away from the goal to pass to my teammate, then I am not creating that opportunity any longer. And then if my teammate is drawing that defender, or if my teammate is in that shooting cone, that shooting lane, then I, as the attacker, do not have the opportunity to safely shoot. And so I should not take the shot. I've actually had this season in some of my college games, I've carded an attacker for actually almost hitting her teammate. So dangerous propel is definitely possible. Even if you don't hit a defender, we want to protect our own teammates as well. Chat. Okay. So
I did card someone. I did card someone this season for doing that, a dangerous rappel on their own teammate.
Yeah, awesome. I did that myself as well. So it's definitely possible. Attack just can't shoot whenever. So two in one season. There we go. And we're still only in March. So in this scenario, this is kind of our textbook, black and white. We have our attacker and we have our nice cone here. There's our shooting space lane, and there is the defender, nice and unmarked, right there in the center of the 8. Can't get any more textbook like that. I'm not sure it happens like that a whole lot to us in a game, but that is definitely a great example of a shooting space call. So what does that look like in an actual game? Let's find out. Let me turn the sound off. So here's the ball carrier comes in. She just comes straight across. So again, ball's going to come in over here. Here's the defender. Just slides right in there. Right there. She just slides right into the lane. Just like in the diagram before, can't get any more real textbook than that. She's not within a stick's length when she slides straight across instead of up the line. Really great example there of shooting space on our defender. She does not go with her attacker, stays in her zone spot, and then comes straight across. So in this scenario, it's the same kind of setup, but it's a little different in that we do not have the ball within the critical scoring area yet. So she is outside the critical scoring area. So this defender is not in shooting space yet. Remember, we have to have the ball inside first. As soon as that attacker comes in, and if she's creating the opportunity to shoot anywhere in here, now we may have a potential shooting space. But in this scenario, what I'm most going to be paying attention to here is a 3 seconds violation. So if this defender does not move, if she stays in, she doesn't make any attempt to pick up an attacker, I'm really going to be considering a 3 seconds call on that one. Then in this scenario, we have an attacker who is double teamed. So we have a really nice double team going on right here. They've closed the gap. Yes, this defender is here, but as long as these two defenders have really closed that gap and she does not really have a clear opportunity to shoot safely, that does not mean shooting through or shooting over the defenders. I have to be able to have a lane to shoot safely. Then again, this defender is not in shooting space, but I'm going to want to consider a 3 seconds call depending on how long she stays there and what she's doing. If these defenders are a little wider, if they're not really closing the gap, if they haven't really established themselves as a double team, now we may have a shooting space violation. It just depends on what these defenders are doing. So in this scenario, we are going to have a double team come here. Oh, shoot. So we've got our double team that closes here. There's no opportunity for her to shoot safely in this scenario. The double team continues to go with her as she backs out. So we have no opportunity. Again, the double team closes very quickly here. Even though there may be potentially, this isn't the right angle, we may have something here. She's moving away from goal. We have the double team here. Again, it closes very quickly. They go with her. And then the double team closes again very quickly. So then in this scenario, we have another not shooting space potential. So as long as these two, this pair is within a stick's length here, we do not have a shooting space violation. So while this defender may be in the cone, in the lane, she is marking within a stick's length. This attack player being with this defender in this pair denies the opportunity, does not cause a shooting space violation. So what does that look like in practice? So ball is up top here. We have multiple people down here marked up. Maybe want to start looking at 3 seconds down here. We're marked, we're marked. She turns and spins. Potentially, as she comes off, we have a little bit here. But the initial kind of here, we've got a pair. There's no shooting space there. Ball bounces up top. She's outside the critical scoring area, not looking to shoot yet. We're paired up, we're paired up. She's going to pass along here. Again, she's still outside. Now she turns to go. We've closed the gap. We're paired, we're paired. Now we finally have the spin off here in the last little drive. So in this case, we have a little bit of animation. So here we have our pair over here on one side. Attack starts to cut, defense goes with her. As long as defense continues to go, as I said before, we are not going to have a shooting space violation. So as long as she continues to run with our attacker, she's being drawn through, we are not going to have a foul. If that defender hesitates, turns, stops, makes any motion towards, now we are potentially looking at a shooting space violation. So in this example, here we have the pair that's going through. She continues moving. There's no shooting space. So watch this pair come running through right in front of goal. Defender keeps going. There's no shooting space. Great job by the defense recognizing and continuing to go with her attacker. So in this scenario, we do have the defender that goes. So attack starts to leave, defense realizes it, turns and starts to move. Now we have a violation if attack is creating the opportunity to shoot. So defense turns, goes.
Player, go for it. And
so in this scenario, we have basically that where we have a defender who spins off of her attacker here and comes straight in the lane towards the attacker. Very easy, very, very easy call. So she spins off, she's going to come on the screen. So right here, spun off of this pack over here, right into the lane of the defender. Any questions so far? Clarifications? Okay.
I have one.
Yeah, go ahead.
You said going back to 3 seconds,
Yes.
if the girl's foot is 1 foot in the 8 and 1 foot out, that I believe is considered out of the 8, correct?
If she is 1 foot in and 1 foot out, by rule, she is grounded in the 8-meter arc. So she would still be in. They have to be both feet out to be out.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So in this scenario, attack is going to beat her defender, and the defender is going to slide to help. And so we see that this attacker up here is going to beat the defender, and this defense is going to crash. You see this a lot with our low defenders. They yell help, the low defense crashes, and now we have shooting space if the attacker is looking to go to goal and creating the opportunity for herself.
That high pass there.
So a little bit here. Here we've got that low defender who has just suddenly realized that she's beaten everybody. So picks up the ball. She picks up the ball right there, gets it, turns, and then we've got this defender that just kind of realizes that she's going to goal, and so let's crash right there. So she spins off. Here we go. These low defenders get in a lot of trouble sometimes. So she just gets caught. She would have kept going instead of stopping and turning, would have had a little bit different of a scenario here, but she really turns, stops, and moves towards the ball. Now we have pretty easy shooting space call. So again, attack is going to beat her defender, but this time, instead of our defense crashing from the side, our goalie is going to step out, and our goalie is going to be outside of the goal circle. And now our goalie is in the lane and has a potential shooting space violation. I do not have a clip of a goalie because it does not happen very frequently in the high school game. But remember, if the goalkeeper does not stay in her circle and she comes out, she becomes another member of the field and another member of the defense. And so she is, she has every other rule that all other defenders have. So she is in shooting space if she does come out of that goal circle. We're starting to see a couple more mobile goalies at the high school level, so may become a little bit of a challenge here in the future. From here, we just have a couple more kind of clips just to show shooting space from different angles. So here we've got the ball coming in from the top, and we've got our defenders that slide. We've got the double team. The double team does not really close the gap very well, but she is not creating the opportunity to shoot. Her feet are pointed away from goal. Her shoulders are pointed away from goal. Her stick is pointed away from goal. She passes to her teammate. Radar should be up for this player right here who's kind of stuck. And sure enough, she turns. Her feet start going towards goal. Her body starts going towards goal. And now we have a shooting space violation. So turns, and right there, she fired. Depending on when the whistle was in this situation, there's the ball, there's the girl. If this was after the whistle, may want to consider a dangerous propel. If it definitely was after the whistle, we don't want girls shooting after the whistle. They need to wait for the call, wait for us to get our whistle up, but we need to be very quick so that as soon as she turns and catches the ball, we have a whistle on it. So here, there needs to be a whistle on this right here. She has created the opportunity to shoot. She is not legally in the lane. This needs to be an immediate whistle. So here we've got the ball is going to be here going up top. So now we've got, again, our low defenders that crash right in here. Ball is right here in the middle. These players have crashed, not marking anybody. Remember, the lane is pretty big, goes from the outer edge of the goal circle. We now have shooting space here for these players. She smartly pulls back out, but we need to have a whistle on that. in recognition of the shooting space. Here, we're going to have the ball coming in off the top. Again, she beats her defenders, and now we've got all these guys just camping out here in the 8. So we have right here, there's nothing. We have a double team that collapses, not really closing the space, but they go with her. She beats this double team. Attack here continues to run. Defense does not. They turn, come back, and now we have shooting space right in here.
Jessica,
Yeah, absolutely.
comment you made right before this most recent play here about a girl smartly getting out just raises I guess the possibility in my mind. If a defense player comes, say right from outside the circle, right on the goal line extended, and steps into shooting space, realizes it, gets out right away, would you pull your flag in that situation?
Shooting space is never going to be a flag.
Okay,
So
but it wouldn't be another. I guess there's nothing else. She'll just get good on her for getting out. Either that, or you'll have a whistle even after she's gotten out.
yeah, so it depends. So if that attacker is going to goal really hard and the attack step or the defense steps in the lane and then steps back out, the minute she steps in the lane, if that attacker is ready to shoot, we've got to put a whistle on it. It's a safety issue. Even if she does then, step right back out. It may be too quick that we don't see it, that we can't catch it in time. But we don't ever want to flag a shooting space. It's better to call it a second late than to not call it, than to flag it. We don't want to be flagging it. In a situation where, if attack is going to goal, or if they're not really going to goal, if they're not really creating that opportunity and the defender steps in and then steps back out, it may be a no call, depending on what the attacker is doing, what hand is the stick in. It just really kind of, there's a lot of different things that can cover in that scenario. Shooting space is not black and white, and I think that's what makes it the most difficult for us as officials and for players and honestly coaches. There's a lot of gray area here in terms of what really is creating opportunity. What, is she going towards goal? Are her hands really free? What's the defense doing? So there's not a clear answer in that kind of scenario. It really would depend on what the attacker is doing, but I can say for sure it will never be a flag for a shooting space.
All right, appreciate it.
Yep. So in this clip, we have our ball carrier right here with number 11 right in front of us. And here comes the crash from the low defender. She leaves her attacker, and you can already see this developing a mile away. She's going towards goal. Her stick is here. Her pathway is towards goal. She wants to go. In comes this defender. We need to be calling shooting space, and you can see the official down there is on it very quickly. Right there. And in this clip, we have the ball up top here with 36. Or no, I'm sorry, number 4 has the ball. 96 is going to spin off. Then it comes up top. She beats her defenders, and then we have the double team that collapses from low. So right. Again, right, she beats her defender. Oh my gosh, why is this not stopping? Sorry, I'm technologically challenged this evening. Right here, we have our shooting space. Defender is caught. She's stuck. In this case, the attacker does shoot. The attack does score. If we have a whistle for shooting space, we are not pulling it out. You know, we're pulling it out of the goal and we're setting it up. We are not awarding that goal. We are going to set up the free position and recognize the shooting space violation. So as soon as she beats her defender, we need to be aware, we need to be seeing these layers so that we can anticipate this potential shooting space. And again, it's going to be set up. It is not, we're not awarding the goal. Any questions on any of the clips that we've seen or anything we've talked about so far?
Jessica, I do have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
You had one scenario there where the attacker with the ball was just inside the 12 and one of her teammates was being marked by a defender inside the 8. And what would happen if the person with the ball takes the shot anyway and either hits that defender or hits that attacker? Would that be a dangerous propel?
Yes, it would be. So
Okay.
it is a nice, dangerous propel, and you are going to pull your nice, lovely yellow card, and we are going to yellow card that player. So it does not have to hit the defender. It can hit the attacker. It can hit her own teammate. We want to make sure that we are not allowing that play to continue. We don't want attack to be taking that shot. So yellow card, dangerous propel.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Jessica, I have a question.
Sure.
What happens when you have more than one player in the shooting space and both of them are called out for shooting space violation? Do both of them go behind or just one?
No, you would just take one. And if everybody's paired up, we're not going to have a shooting space. But if we have multiple defenders in the lane, so like in this clip, you know, we potentially have maybe multiple. So right in here, we really potentially could have two if she was a little farther out. Just take the first one or take, you know, the closest. You only are going to want one defender behind because there's really one that kind of initiates the first call.
Okay. I had an official to put two of them behind last year, so I just want to clarify that. Thanks.
Yeah, no, we really want to be just one behind for shooting space. One behind.
Thank you. Okay, thanks.
All right. So as officials, we need to make sure that we are in the right position to see the shooting space lane. So as our lead, we've got the ball that's coming in off the second inside hash. So we are the lead. This is our call in 2-person. We're going to focus on 2-person. So in 2-person, I want to be on tangent with the ball. So I want to be making sure that I can see the space of the intersection here and the lane. I want to make sure that there's nobody in this space impeding this lane for this attacker that's coming in. So we always want to be thinking about being on tangent, seeing that space, seeing the layers. As the ball comes in on the other side of the 8-meter, we're going to have our trail over here. They're going to have the view of this lane, of this shooting space, but I need to be up high enough as lead, again, on that tangent, to be able to see the space between the ball carrier here, ball carrier and the defender, and then the trail will be able to see the layers beyond play. So if you are one of those officials that likes to hang out in this area right in here, we call it the warning track. My mouse artwork will not get me any art awards, but if you like to hang out in this space, you need to get lower or you need to get higher. So if the ball is opposite, you need to be higher. If the ball is on your side, you need to be lower. A very good check, and what I always tell our new officials is that when the ball is dead center, if I could draw a straight line, the ball is dead center, you want to be staring at the top of the ball circle.
Would either of you want to play ultimate frisbee?
Like the males, you mean?
You're not talking to if you have a question,
Didn't they already start? I
Yeah, I'm seeing if you want to join the sponsor.
Okay. All right. So if the ball is dead center, right at the center hash, your position, you want to be right at the top of the circle. So a really good reference point for you when the ball is here, I want to be staring at the top of the circle. And then as the ball moves towards me, I'm going to move lower. As the ball moves away from me, I'm going to move higher. So good little reference points there for our positioning. But that will help us see the space between the players, see the layers beyond the ball carrier. So trail, you also need to be moving. I see a lot of times in two-person, our trail just kind of comes, they camp in one spot, and that's it. As our trail, you need to be active, you need to be helping your lead, especially with shooting space. As the ball moves more center, you need to come over and be more center. As the ball moves towards the hanging hash, you need to get out a little wider to be able to see that lane, as illustrated here by these points. So you have to be active as trail. We don't want to just be trees that are planted right over the restraining line. Two-person especially, we need your help. Three-person, this becomes our C official, and it's the same thing. We can't have you being a tree. We want to make sure that you are moving to be able to see all of this space and all of the players. So for our three-person, we're going to use, if this is our second inside hash, this is our first inside hash. Our range of motion is basically going to go from just outside the corner of the 8 to just inside the second inside hash. So I'm going to be covering this ground as C. We can do it in two-person, but definitely in three-person, our C needs to be moving, needs to be helping our lead, needs to be in the position to see that lane. Another thing we need to be doing as officials is we need to be able to see the space between the players. So here we have our umpire. They are straight on with our attacker. They are only seeing backs and butts. What we want to do is we want to shift to one side or the other, be offset to play so that we can now see this space in between. Because what is this defender doing in front of her? Does she have her stick horizontal? Is she reaching in? Is she maybe poke checking at the attacker? If you're straight on with the attacker and you can only see her back, you have no idea what's happening here. So an important thing, especially if we're a C or a trail in two-person, we also want to be offset to make sure that we can see all this space below. So if our goal is up here and she's going towards it, If I'm just staring at her back, I've now screened myself off with this pair. I have no idea what's happening beyond this pair. If I take a step or two, not only can I see this space, but I can also see the layers behind. So we want to be thinking that next level, want to be kind of considering all of the different features that we're looking for, all of the different things that could be happening. So take that step to the left, take that couple steps to the right, make sure that you're offset to the players to be able to see what you need to see and help your partners. So take that couple steps. So we also want to be able to predict and anticipate what's going to happen. So I want to be looking at 3 different levels of play when the ball's in the critical scoring area. What's happening within a stick's length of that ball carrier? So what's the defender doing? What's happening really close to the circle? What are those low defenders doing? Are there pairs? Are there people marking directly behind? And then what's happening in no man's land? And no man's land is that area that really is between the goal or the goal circle and the ball carrier. So when we talk about it, we've got our near in this little green semicircle here. So this is our attacker. So what's happening in here? What's the defender doing immediately? And then what's happening down here around the goal circle? Do we have pairs? Do we have things going on? And it's going to shift. So as attack moves, it's always going to shift. And so then this no man's land is all this space in between here. What's happening in here? What's going on? Are there defenders that are just hanging out? Are there pairs of people? Are there picks? Is there a little, stack going on right in here? So you've got like 5 players right in front there. It could be a lot of different things happening. So we want to make sure that we know, especially if the ball, is here, and we've got a bunch of people like right over here in this no man's land area. Is somebody going to suddenly slide in and try to stop that, try to pick up that defender? Are we going to have a low defender from here suddenly slide up to try to stop the defender or to stop the drive? Anytime you hear the word crash, which is what defense like to call when they get beat, your radar should immediately go up for shooting space. Probably from these low defenders coming in this way. They like to slide in and they don't always understand that what they really want to be doing is coming from here up the line and then in. What they tend to do is just come straight across, but they really need to be coming up the line, and then as they get closer, step in. They can hang their stick in here, that's great, get the deflection, but their bodies need to come up this imaginary kind of on an angle and then slide in when they get within that stick's length.
Hey, Jessica, this is
Yeah.
Lisa.
Hi.
Hi. Will you go back a screen, please?
Yes, ma'am. I'll erase
Right
that
there, perfect.
scribble too.
Just want to point out that the black area below the goal line extended
Yes, this
is
not there.
not shooting space. That is a limitation of the graphics.
Yep. Yeah. Great point. Yeah. So if I'm a defender and I'm standing in that little red section that I just colored, I am not in shooting space. I'm below the goal line extended. So remember, we have to be above the goal line extended, like Lisa said, in order for us to be in shooting space. So a couple questions to ask ourselves as we're kind of watching play develop and watching what attack is doing. So what is our defense doing? Are they marking player to player? Are they marking within a stick's length? Or are they kind of hanging out in the 8, potentially denying opportunity to either have attackers cut through the 8 So we maybe have 3 seconds, or denying the opportunity to shoot safely. The next thing we want to be thinking is, where's the ball going? Where's that next pass going? Are they running a play? Do we have a stack going on? Kind of anticipating where they're trying to go. Are they just running a motion where they're just passing around the outside? Then we might want to think more about 3 seconds rather than shooting space, because they're really just passing it around. They're not actively trying to go to goal. But, you know, is it the low attacker that's trying to feed to the middles to get that quick shot? You know, what are they trying to run in their offense, and where is that next pass going to end up? And then does the attack have the ball in the critical scoring area, and are they above the goal line extended? If they're outside the 12, we don't necessarily have an opportunity to shoot. Are they creating that opportunity with those 3 pathways? Do they have their stick, their hands free, as we say? Do they have their feet moving towards goal, their body moving towards goal, or at least turned towards goal? It doesn't have to necessarily be moving, but are they creating that opportunity? Or are they relinquishing it because they're just looking around for the next pass, or maybe they're just kind of running around and not really thinking about going to goal? Are they stalling? Is it, you know, the last couple minutes of the game and they're winning, and so they're just kind of running around with the ball? What are they doing with that opportunity? And having those 3 pathways kind of moving towards goal together. So that was kind of all I had for tonight. Any questions, comments, anything else that we can cover with shooting space 3 seconds? All right, I'm taking silence as you guys are all, you know, experts at illegal defense and calling it appropriately. So we're right at an hour now, which is what I kind of was hoping to be at. So as I said originally, if you are looking for meeting credit and you did not put your name, Ohio high school permit, and to help us out, your you know, what region you're in, please put that in the chat. I'll leave the recording on a little bit longer, but you will not get credit if your name is not on this list. I'm going to send it to the secretaries and they'll put it in from there. So good luck with your seasons. We have the next couple Sundays at 7:30. Ashley Stewart is up next week with some rules Q&A, and I think misconduct fouls or major fouls or something. So we'll see you guys next week. I see Chelsea, you have your hand raised. Question?
Yes, so you talked about if a team is trying to ice the clock, if the defenders are deliberately putting themselves in 3 seconds to stop the clock because it's in the critical, would you call that?
Yes. So if they're in there and they're just hanging out and they're making no attempt, you can call it. Remember, it's going to stay at the spot of the ball. So 3 second setup is at the spot of the ball, and you're just going to bring the defender out, and we're going to have a whistle start from there.
And would the clock still stop since the foul occurred in the CSA and it's under 2, we'll say, since they're icing it?
It's not a 8 meter or a 12 meter. So where's Lissa? Lissa, that's a great question.
That is an excellent question. I'll have to, that's kind of granular. So let me check with US Lacrosse.
Yeah, it's not clear in the
typically
rule
a
book.
whistle start because the foul occurred. Right. So let me shoot that up the line and for you.
Yeah, that is a great question, because I know it's not real clear in the rule book either, because I think that came up in one of our new officials classes. So we will get back to everybody on that. Yes, Justin, I see you have your hand up too.
Yeah, this is kind of a follow-on to that. So if it does in fact stop the clock, Could the defensive coach call a timeout then on the whistle because it's a whistle start dead ball,
They will
even
not
though they
have-
don't have
They
possession,
don't have possession, so they will not be able to call a timeout. Yeah.
even though it's a dead ball?
Even though it's a dead ball, because they do not have possession, they will
Okay.
not be able to call a timeout.
Okay, thanks.
And the other thing too, if attack is not really making any effort to cut through the 8, or they're not really making any effort to go towards goal, and they really are all fully spread out, you may not, you may kind of pass on the 3 seconds call as well, because maybe it is a delay, a kind of a tactic from the defense. So, by rule, yes, it is 3 seconds, but also depending on what's happening in the game, you may also kind of pass on calling that as a 3 seconds as well, if there's no attack in there at all.
Yeah, Jessica, this is Mike Murphy. Just to add what you're saying. A coach's tactic is to put somebody in there. That way you get the 3 second call. And as a result, that defender is going to go behind the girl with the ball. So now the coach has a good double team to start right away. So just be aware of that. I've seen coaches do that.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. We like the gray area here in our game, so there's never going to be a black and white answer in most cases.
Well, if they continue to do it multiple times, could that potentially be a multiple major foul? Go to a yellow?
You could upgrade it if that is something that is occurring. Again, if we're late in the game though, and it's you might not have the opportunity for a multiple repetitive foul at that point. It just kind of depends. Great questions, great conversation. All right, anything else?
Thank you, Jessica. A wonderful presentation.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. Good luck as we enter the first week of our high school season. And if you come up with things, send them our way, and we will address them in the next couple Sundays.